Welcome. Thank you all so much for coming. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we meet on today. The Macedon Ranges Shire is on Dja Dja Wurrung, Tangarung and Wurundjeri country, whose ancestors and descendants are the traditional owners of this land. We acknowledge that they have been the custodians of this land for many centuries and continue to perform age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Every graduation does tend to start by thanking everyone for coming, which seems a little bit strange to me because I would hazard a guess there's very few other engagements that would seem more important than this one. It is such a special night and it's celebrating a huge achievement and a wonderful milestone, the successful completion of your secondary schooling. I feel immensely proud of our graduates tonight. And I'm also hugely comforted, as much as I don't want to see them go. I'm comforted to see such a wonderful, accomplished, kind-hearted group of young people stepping out into the world. They all have so much to offer, and the world truly needs them at the moment. So as hard as it is to let them go, I'm really grateful to be putting the future in such a capable, lots of hands. We're going to open our ceremony tonight with our outgoing Alice Miller Award winner, Dante, who is going to wish our graduates best and offer some insights about the first year away from secondary school. Then we're going to hand out the formal certificates. So students will be introduced by one of the teachers who's been working with them through their time at Alice. And then each graduate has been invited to say a few words about their experience during their time at school. Then they'll receive their certificate, return to their seat. So thank you all. Please join me in welcoming Dante.
In preparing for tonight, I decided I'd revisit my speech from last year to have a look at what how things have sort of changed over time for me. And at the time, I opened by talking about a candlebark canoe trip from Year 9, where 3 girls wound up stuck on a branch in the middle of the Murray River after ignoring instructions from Sam Ford. And when I asked if we should go and help, Sam just grinned and said to wait a while and see what happened. So sometimes I wonder whether the teachers say the same thing when students graduate. Eventually though, they made it back. And if they hadn't, I probably wouldn't be telling this story. And I've made it back as well today. Not to say that I ignored the teacher's advice, but my plans did change and I've had to work out how to ford the river when things didn't go or do go as expected. Last year I presented this as an example of the independence and perseverance which Alice Miller and Candlebark encourages in its students, along with various other skills. And today I still stand by it. Skills like these have helped me to get through my first year at university in a relatively comfortable manner. And I know that the students graduating tonight are equipped with the same and have demonstrated many of these skills. Looking back to last year, I didn't even expect to be in Australia right now, let alone to have started university. Instead, I expected to be travelling in Europe. However, shortly before the deferral deadline for university, I decided to start this year. I can say that if it weren't for the flexibility and adaptability which I developed through my time at Alice Miller, because of various experiences that I had, then my changing of plans at such short notice wouldn't have gone as smoothly. This applies to all of the graduates, because no matter your plans or situations, things change. And thanks to your experiences, you're all equipped with the flexibility and adaptability which you guys need to succeed with. Another example of this independence is the financial management and the sheer willpower you guys have had to demonstrate in order to rip yourself away from the social setting of the cafe in order to actually get some work done. And these are 2 things which I've observed many university students, me included, can struggle with at times. Last year I also mentioned the teachers' inclusion of students in their conversations and treatment of students as equals rather than as inferior. as fostering the ability of students to relate to other people, and also as a sort of part of the inclusion, which is an essential part of Alice Miller and Candlebach, and which creates the accepting and tight-knit community there. On top of this, the various experiences which the graduates have achieved, from hiking and overseas trips to chess tournaments, performing in plays and more. You guys are genuinely interesting people, and because of this I have no doubt that you'll carry forward this community mentality in meeting new people and trying new things. For example, I've joined the yoga club at university, but more for the cheap vegetarian meals at lunchtimes. But at the same time, I've also been doing other things. I've connected back to the school in various ways. I went to WOMAD this year, where I found out just how much the students actually make the teachers laugh at times. And I've also met up with people from the school and come to some school events. Some connections you leave and others you take with you. The only thing that I would caution is that it can sometimes take more time than expected in getting to know new people and developing relationships with people in new situations. And that's okay. Look, to summarise, my message to the graduates is to not worry too much about your future. No matter what you decide to do, you're already far ahead of the majority of people in your position in terms of the skills and experiences which will help you to succeed. So, if you end up on a branch overhanging a river with no canoe, you can call on your skills because you've been through a system which has empowered you to be independent, interesting, motivated and adaptable people who are well equipped to take on the world. So, good luck.
Very hard act to follow. Thank you, Dante, that was beautiful. So we're going to start the official business and hand out the certificates now. So John, if you'd like to come up and take your spot. The first teacher that I'm calling to the stage to talk about one of the students is Veronica.
Good evening, everybody. My heart is about to pop out. Okay, first of all, I would like to congratulate all these bunch of wonderful individuals that, like Sky said, the world needs you guys. It's wonderful to see you all accomplish such a hard year. It's quite difficult to put Jackson in a minute. Can't do that. So I'm just rambling around through here. He has accomplished something remarkable, which is finishing year 12. Year 12 is not a walk in the park, and you shouldn't, because that's probably one of a catalyst point in which we find that we have that strength as a young adult to actually face all of those fears, going to finishing deadlines, VCE, exams, getting to places in time. All those things can be quite overwhelming, and I believe you have accomplished that, Jackson, becoming the Jackson that we see today. It wasn't an easy year for him, but I think it was a strong point for him to actually realize that he can do that, and you achieve that. I remember Jackson as a year 9 student when he first started working at the cafe, and he would just like rumble around and and it just with a whole bunch of cool kids that Jess as well that I'm gonna miss terribly. And he has proven to be reliable, honest, funny, understanding, trustworthy, musically talented, and sometimes a little bit out there. Walking around, holding his head. It's the Jackson that we know. That's why we love you so much, and that's why your teachers are so incredibly proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I went to see Jackson last week to play a gig, and I couldn't help but feel like my son when he first caught the first basket on basketball, and he was so excited. And after seeing Jackson, he was totally immersed in his music, and to see that drive, to see that focus on something that you love so much. You are obviously talented. You have accomplished something incredible, that it's throwing yourself at things, and keep being spontaneous, because you have nailed that. And that's why I wanted to present you with a vintage Shades of Cool. Just for you.
Hide the tears, won't it? Do I hold the book now or later? I'm glad Veronica spoke about me. That's good, because my speech is kind of about her. So Veronica's been someone that... Fucking... Veronica's been someone that has helped me out this year and given me a lot to think about. She's given me life skills that, you know, I probably wouldn't learn if it wasn't for her. And as well as the teachers who, every one of them I've had intelligent conversation about, who's taught me more than just, you know, how to write a word or plus numbers together, who's taught me how to live a good life. So that I'm thankful for, and it's every one of you, you know. I'm not leaving anyone out. Every teacher at the school's really supported me with what I need to know. What else to say? You know, I won't forget this time. I might forget it for a few years, but give 5 years and I'll probably remember it. And it was a special one, and it's going to be very close to my heart, especially Canterbuck as well. Yeah, I appreciate every idea I've gotten from, you know, every one of you. Everyone at school, I've gotten ideas from it and thoughts and things that'll stay with me. So I appreciate that. That's all I got to say, so thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Because things never run to plan, our next student is currently stuck on a train, so we will congratulate her shortly. So now, Karen, would you like to come up and introduce Noah?
So I'm introducing Noah. This year in Year 12, we read Measure for Measure together. On the day I assigned parts to the students, Noah was away. So I gave her the part of Mistress Overdone, a bawdy madam, a proprietor of a Viennese bathhouse. Noah seemed to have just the right balance of expression, humour and sensitivity to bring the role to life. Mistress Overdone's typically thought of as a figure of fun, on stage to make ribald jokes and lighten the mood of a difficult and dark play. And yet under Noah's reading, the character transformed. To the fore came her perceptive and fair judgment of people, her desire to protect the vulnerable young women in her care, her unique ability to see the good in people. I was now seeing Mistress Overdone's best qualities, precisely because they are many of Noah's best qualities. Noah sees the good in people. She cares deeply for those around her. She'll offer to make you chicken soup when you're sick, even though she's got a stack of homework. She has a bum bag on her at all times. She carries things she thinks she might need, but far more importantly, she carries things she thinks others might need. Noah tells me, and I hope this is still right because it's been a few weeks, that she hopes to pursue a career in acting followed by a career in nursing. She is ideally suited to both. She has a perceptive ability that allows her to understand humans deeply and make connections with them. In my own selfish way, I hope that Noah realises her dream of being an actress, if only so that she can stand in the spotlight as the world notices her. Okay, I'm done.
God. I also love organising things, so I wrote a little something. Thank you so much. I'm going to have to pull myself together. Like everyone, my entire Alice Miller school experience has been a big mixture of highs and lows. Spilling V's delicious hot Luxor all over myself and the carpet was a low. But late night sleepovers, watching fantastic films and analysing every little bit of them, that's just a beautiful high. Struggling with the reality of having a sick parent was a low. But having friends to welcome me into their home as family was a high that I'm beyond grateful for. Through the rough and the smooth, I've been lucky enough to be supported by a great community. My teachers have not only taught me their coursework with the utmost expertise and passion, but they've managed to reach out with empathy and compassion and a sprinkle of tough love. The same goes for my family, the strongest, funniest group of people ever. And I absolutely adore you. I am blessed to have concluded my high school experience surrounded by these remarkable people over here. These are people who exude adventure, both intellectually and physically. I love you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're going to miss you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Now, on the running sheet, next is Dave. Speak about Elena.
Okay, I'm going to introduce Elena. There you are. When Lena started Year 12 Media, I didn't really know Lena. I knew that was Lena, but that was about all I knew. And very quickly, I was really impressed with the complete lack of intimidation that she had when it came to using technical equipment or software that she'd never used before. I like to think you can, extend that to other areas of your life, but you just were not afraid of it at all, got in and did it. It was so impressive to see. When you knew what you needed to do, you got in there and did it. When she didn't entirely know what she needed to do, she got in and did it, and in doing so, worked out what she needed to do, which is a great skill to have. I've also noticed in the last 12 months that through Lena's cheeky and irreverent sense of humour, the fact that she doesn't take herself particularly seriously, and her delightfully unfiltered nature. You know what I mean. She has been a very large and influential force in the culture of the school. And I think wherever you go in future, you're going to influence the culture, you're going to work out what you need to do, and you're going to do it. Come up here, Lena. Congratulations.
Thank you for that, Dave. I just want to say that, I have loved being a part of the Alice Miller community. I've never felt more supported, welcomed. I just love life there, and I know that they create that vibe and they just accept everybody and just let them learn and help them to learn. Not through showing them, but through letting them like experience things themselves and then watch and laugh, which is really nice, as Dante was saying. Everyone in this room has impacted me so much, impacted my growth. Even if I haven't met all of you guys, you've been a big part of the people I love, and that has in turn affected me and helped me grow, because I love the people in my class and they've really, really shown me what's right and what's wrong, what you can love, how you can act, how you can love life. And yeah, I just love life and I love the teachers who I've grown up with ever since day one. Yeah, or day two, I don't know. Anyway, I now feel primed to hit the world with confidence and hit the couch for the next year. Anyway, so thank you, love you guys.
So now it's Karen up again to speak about Ella.
So before I started teaching at Alice, I heard about Ella from a close friend of mine. She told me she'd hired a student to work in her hairdressing salon. She described Ella as a breath of fresh air, turning up to work with no makeup on, a stylish op-shop outfit, and going about her tasks in a really quiet and diligent manner. This is the Ella we get to see at school every day. Polite, kind. I was even tempted to describe her as shy when we first met. Then I ran a sleepover. And I got to see the after-school version of Ella. Here she was, the all-singing, all-dancing, wildly fun and outrageous Ella, whether she was hosting a silent disco with AirPods in my classroom or filling her mouth with fake blood and attempting to scare me through the admin building window at 11 o'clock at night. Her modus operandi seemed to be to take every moment of this time with her friends and her teachers and make it as outrageous and fun as it could possibly be. With time, I realised that Ella is a uniquely creative being, driven by an imagination that pours out of her in zany, crazy and beautiful ways. Every moment of fun was an expression of creativity. I wait eagerly to see where life takes her.
Hello. Scary. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's supported all of us Year 12s this year, like family, friends and teachers. Without your support, we wouldn't have been able to get through the year. It would have been really difficult. But also, I want to say thank you to the school I was at before Alice Miller, because without that, I wouldn't be able to appreciate the school as much as I do, and just the community and how open everyone is, and how you can just, just be yourself. Yeah.
Okay, Christine, would you like to come up please and speak about Sophie?
Well, thank you for being here. Before I talk about Sophie, I would like to acknowledge these Year 12 people that I had such a wonderful time from the time you were in Year 11. Also you, Dante. I love you all. You've been just wonderful. You're adorable. You're everything. You're fantastic. And now I have to talk about Sophie, and it's very hard for me to talk about Sophie without talking about Molly, because this year has been Molly and Sophie, and I go home and my husband say, so how's Sophie and Molly today? And because we had this amazing French class of 3 people, and I just absolutely adored them, and they've been wonderful. But I won't talk about Molly because Bettina is going to talk about her, and I've only got 1 minute, and so I have to speak about Sophie, and Sophie is remarkable. First of all, I started to teach Sophie Chinese, and she was quite good at that. Actually, Ella was also learning Chinese, and so was Chloe, and between the 3 of them, they were the perfect student. And actually, in the French class, something like that happened between Molly and Sophie. They were just absolutely amazing. But Sophie, of course, I adore Sophie. She shares a love of subjects and direct objects and dative pronouns with me, and I really appreciate that. She also has this remarkable ability to make connections in places you would never guess you could go, and that's quite something. And occasionally I've had to say, no, Sophie, you can't talk now. And she said, okay, I'm going to talk anyway. And then, Alice Miller is a very huggy school, and Sophie's a really good hugger, and that's been really nice, and I'm really going to miss her. And Miss Molly, I'm really, really going to miss you. And you're fantastic, and I hope you're going to have fun with these Icelandic horses next year. And wherever you go, it's going to be magnificent. There's a book there, this is John's book, this one is mine that I translated. It's a book by the Baroness of Rothschild on how to behave in high society, and I'm sure you will read it.
I don't have enough words that I could write down to describe the amount of gratitude I have for all the people who have been in my life and who are in this room and who are outside this room as well. I can't talk about Alice Miller without also mentioning Candlebark, which is where I started. It was the school before Candlebark, and before that it had been a bit of a rocky time in my past school, and then I went on a trial day because from the beginning, I just knew that I was going to Candlebark. I hadn't been accepted yet, but I was going to Candlebark. So I stuck to it. I'd go to soirees and then email John saying, wow, that was a great song, just so he would remember my name. And I have got everything I dreamed about, everything I wanted from the school environment that I imagined I would get. Not only have I been in an environment where I was able to write and really improve my skills, but I've also been in an environment filled with areas that required me to be resilient and areas that required me to figure out what I had to do, and also areas where I just had the most amazing class in my life. I actually say this. I say it to my parents. I say this to other students from other schools. But I can honestly say that I am friends with every single person in my class. And I think that is such an honor that so many other students just don't have the ability to say. I am so honored that with every single person in my classroom, I can sit down and I can have a conversation, and I can leave that conversation feeling like I have made a human connection. And I also really want to thank John as well for creating, and Sarita as well for creating the environments that allowed this culture to grow. And I also want to thank every teacher who has taught me throughout the years, from Donna in Candlebark to the 4 wonderful teachers that I had this year. And I am so grateful, and I don't think I have enough words to say that can actually display that. So thank you.
the
can
subtle.
blame V-lines.
Okay, where are we up to on my list? Basil, would you mind coming up, please, to speak about Jess?
Ooh. Unusual to feel emotional on stage, goodness me. Year 12s, love you to bits, guys. Some of you I've taught since prep, some of you I taught for the first time this year. I have a deep love and appreciation and affection for you, and I'm so proud of the way you've pulled together and you support and love and care for each other, and I love that you do that. Thank you so much. My pleasure this evening is to talk about Enigma Girl, Jez Furlong. One of our favourite people. She is someone who feels, perceives and processes the world in a way very few people can. When I first saw one of Jez's little diaries that she'd been working in, I was completely blown away by the work in it, the poetry in it, the scale of understanding that she had created in this little world that was entirely for herself. It was exquisite in its form, the ideas, the delicacy of the images, the complexity of understanding. And I've written here, it was an absolute high art poem in image and book form. And I looked at her and I said, who the hell are you? What the hell is this? And she's like, oh, it's nothing. I'd never seen work like that from a young person before. And since then, Jez has just built that up and built that up. She shows this side of herself rarely to the wider world, but this diamond is always glinting away. Jez's VCE folio was an act of perfection. And this young woman works so hard at her job in the cafe, at her friendships, at her schoolwork, and her inner world is the beneficiary of this. On top of all this, I am delighted to announce publicly that Jez's work has been shortlisted for next year's Top Arts exhibition. Jez, you are an absolute star player. Apparently, you look like Christine Stewart, and apparently you really need to find your truth, and it is my absolute privilege to present her to you this evening. Hugs? If I have to, yeah, all right, yeah, go on.
I'm very different to Basil, and I hate standing up on stage, but yeah. Thank you to all of you. It's been pretty amazing seeing this school grow, because we were in there the first year, some of us, seeing it grow from like basically nothing into something really incredible. And all of you guys have really made it that incredible environment and space, and all the teachers have supported us relentlessly through absolutely everything. And, yep, that's it.
Okay, now that V-Line has played the game, we're just going to skip back a little bit in the running order. And it's with great delight tonight that I get to introduce Miss Josephine Blazier. Josie is already quite an intimidatingly accomplished young woman. She is internationally travelled, bilingual, a chess champion. She's managed to continue her studies throughout the process of filming 2 major projects in 2 years, as well as very recently shortlisting for an extremely prestigious theatre program with Bell Shakespeare. Josie is also bright, driven, goofy, funny, intense and loyal. I've met few people who can match my ardent love of starchy carbohydrates, but sitting across from Josie at a sleepover with a bowl of these creamy pesto ravioli, it was a race to the finish. And usually with parmesan on her very triumphant chin, she would win. That is no mean feat, and is just a small example of the energy and enthusiasm she brings to all the things she does. Josie has made the most of every single opportunity that her education has presented to her with joyful excitement that is contagious. I'm so impressed by and proud of Josie. Having met her in my philosophy elective the very first year Alice began, I was struck by something very surely. Josie is in a hurry. She is hungry for experiences, for knowledge, for connection, and for meaning. She is in such a hurry to live this one wonderful life. And what a life I suspect she will make. Josie, along the way, I hope you remember to reflect on what you have achieved, on who you are, and how that sits with who you truly want to be. You're leaving us to embark upon a fantastically exciting journey. Be careful, be kind, and be true to yourself. May it be an utterly wonderful, challenging, and inspiring adventure. Josie.
Well, Sky is very right. I am in a hurry. I never really thought of myself as being in a hurry, but then I do reflect sometimes and I go, yeah, she's right. But my speech isn't really about Sky, sadly. Because it's a hard task to talk about one person as well as everyone, so I just read it. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for holding my hand at some point along this journey. In some ways, I feel like a plant in a greenhouse that you have all tended to and watered during my time here. My analogy is supposed to show how you have all contributed to the person that stands before you and the life I intend to lead. When you spend enough time with someone, their habits tend to wear off on you. Their ways of engaging with the world and their ways of communicating with others. So I would like to say thank you for all the things I have been exposed to and the tailored intellectual, emotional, physical and spiritual education I have been gifted. I have only ever been treated as an individual at Alice Miller. However, it is not without considerable sacrifices that I have attended Alice Miller. So I'd like to bring to your attention my mother Sharon for putting my education first at great expense. I would also like to acknowledge the freedom we have all had while being a part of this school. It is an unknown burden and great responsibility, but priceless. Finally, I'm very glad you all made me do things I didn't want to do. And for being such open and compassionate listeners, and for caring for me. My gratitude is intertwined with love, and my love is intertwined with gratitude for every single one of you. I will move on, but I will never not miss this. I love you all dearly, and I wish you all the best.
Amy, to talk about Lily.
Don't be crying, Josie. It's not unusual. Lulu, hello. Okay, I've got this little watercolour painting on my wall at home, and so annoying. It's an image of a canoeist, and there's ripples pushing off their paddle in the water, gliding along in one of our little red boats. It's an image painted by Lulu as she sat paintbrush dipping in the water in the river in the front of the boat that I was steering. It's about all she was up for because she'd broken her arm just a few days prior and twisted my arm and the arms of her parents to convince her to let her come on camp still. It's an image in a scenario that completely epitomises Lilu. She has wholeheartedly said yes to everything on offer to her at Alice. Not just in outdoor adventures from the overland to the Larapinta to the Alps to snow, the river again, to rock climbing, where she yelled at me from the top, "I've overcome my fear of heights." But also in music, in art, in theatre, and environmental stewardship. In a whirlwind of enthusiasm, she sort of just absorbs the skill offered to her and executes the skills offered to her and executes them with this sort of beautiful intellect and talent, and all with this unwavering humility. This has been such a beautiful offering of leadership to the school community, of an approach to learning that I think is what we're really striving for at Alice. The gorgeous Lilu.
Bonjour. So, thank you. That was really nice. I forgot that I had to twist you and Dad's arm to let me go hike on the camp. It was funny. Righto. So, I am going to read something that I actually wrote in Year 9 on the big trip, in the car on like a 8-hour drive in France in like the autumn. It was so pretty. Anyway, okay. It's a bit poetic and it's a bit stupid, just bear with me, okay. The camaraderie, love and awareness within a flock of birds flying together whilst changing direction with the synchronicity of a wave. The power, solemn and silence of a single kite hovering and circling above a hot patch. Solitary, strong and independent. I want to be both, aware of others' directions and movements, but be able to drift away from others and be strong in my own space. I feel I have achieved that. I feel I am a complete person. The experiences I have been given, including the amazing camps, the insightful conversations, and the welcoming, gorgeous community, these, as well as many other things, have shaped me into who I am now, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. I am very proud of who I am and excited for what's next. Thank you so much.
So many cuddles tonight. Okay. Next we have Sarita, who will introduce Una.
So, as we all know, Una is a phenomenal mathematician. She excelled in the further maths course as a Year 10 student and has gone on to complete and excel in every mathematics course on offer through the VCE. But it was clear from when Una was very tiny that she had a special understanding of numbers. Some of you may be aware that Una and I began our Candlebark journey at exactly the same time. Una as a prep student and me as a first-year art teacher. We would start and end our days in roughly the same way. Tiny Una would rush up to me, beaming in the way she does now, and giggling with glee, she would say to me, "I'm wearing 13 layers today," and then begin to peel them up one by one and count to show me. And at the end of every day, I would walk around at clean-up, picking up various items with Una's name embossed on them. A green bandana, jumpers, skirts, pants, and my all-time favourite, a real fox stole complete with face and feet. Una was notorious for arriving at school dressing like she was crossing Antarctica and shedding layers as they became redundant. Back then, I would take the preps to the creek once a week for a paddle. Inspired by Una, the preps took to exploring the water, rocks and trees completely starkers. More than once, I was struck by what an extraordinary place I'd come to. I'm like an embarrassing aunt at a 21st, aren't I? I've known you a long time. I was struck by what an extraordinary place I'd come to, that little kids could be so free and comfortable in this way. But I was also aware that there was something extraordinary about Una. Una is our very first student to have started with us at prep and continue all the way through to Year 12 graduation. I could talk at length about her immense intelligence and her profound accomplishments during this time, but I only have a minute, so I'll talk about her spirit instead. I once heard it said that the light in children's eyes dies at around 9 years old. This is a sobering thought, but I've found it to be true for the most part. It tends to occur around the time that children become aware of shame and aware of the hardships in the world. Some of this shame and sadness occurs through the schooling process, some through family, friendships, some just through being in the world. And it's virtually impossible for us to protect children against it entirely. Una is one of those extraordinary individuals that seems somehow resilient to it, though. She is now nearly 18 years old and graduating, yet still, to me, has that same absolute delight for life and freedom from shame that she did scaling trees by the creek as a prep. She is absolutely hilarious, laughs like a demon, and lives life on her own glorious terms. She has influenced, I would say, this entire school in showing them that you can grow up with maturity, intelligence and pride without the light in your eyes going out. Una, it has been an absolute honour to share this journey with you.
I'll congratulate myself if I can get through this without laughing. I've written 5 limericks about Ken Buck and Alice Miller. I'll just get going. I'm Canberbuck Alice Miller through and through. My time here has shaped my worldview. From camps to bike training, mud play whilst it's raining, I've even joined clean-up crew. A school that drinks too much tea, where one can complete VCE, play soccer at lunch, have numbers to crunch, Alice Miller has been there for me. Alice Miller's a strange name for a school, but there's plenty about it quite cool. Who is she, they say, and we just smile away, because we have no idea either. School camps are many and various, occasionally a little precarious. Got stuck in a hole, did a Canberra roll, but all were very hilarious. You have been patient for ever so long, as I figure out where I belong. Morning meetings are a whiz, start the morning with a quiz. It seems apt we should finish with a gong.
Okay, Dan, can you come up please and talk about Luca?
Okay. L-U-C-A. Luca is arguably one of the most important acronyms in biology. It stands for the last universal common ancestor, a mysterious entity that gave rise to the first life forms in our fossil record 3.6 billion years ago, and subsequently evolve into a myriad of different life forms over the course of our planet's history. Over the past 3 years of teaching Luca, I have found that Luca, the microbe, and Luca, the human, have a lot in common. Firstly, they are both simple. Luca, the human, can behave in ways that make me think, wow, you really evolved from a microbe. For instance, Luca is well known for his barefoot mode of locomotion at school. When I asked him why he chose to go barefoot, he cited a scholarly study that revealed that wearing shoes increased the risk of foot injury as modern shoes soften the foot's impact with the ground, making ankle muscles weak. While this sounds plausible, playing basketball or soccer on an outdoor court barefoot doesn't lead to good outcomes. He made multiple journeys to the office this year, bothering Penny with various foot complaints. The second thing the two Lucas have in common is potential. Luca the microbe clearly had enormous potential to give rise to a multitude of life forms. With his thirst for knowledge and desire to understand things deeply, Luca has the potential to evolve into a person of significance and an asset to society as a professional, friend, family, and community member. Just as natural selection resulted in the evolution of Luca over countless generations, I hope that within your lifetime, Luca, you evolve under pressures that life places upon you. Those species that adapt survive, and those people who keep trying different strategies to surmount obstacles prevail, despite or maybe even because of failures. Rein in your impulses and be persistent. You have a bright future ahead of you.
Rein it in. Jesus. Yeah, it's been quite an honour to have gone through this journey with this, I don't know if I can call him man, but ape. It's been good to, over the 4 years Daniel started teaching, I've kind of been able to watch him grow as a person as well, which has been pretty special. And it's cool to be able to play basketball with him, even if there's a few injuries sometimes. And I want to say that Alice Miller and Colonel Barker have really helped me develop into the three quite strange beings that I am. Monkey Man, the barefoot beast, that is capable of feeling every sensation the earth offers, but also doing some pretty primal things. When I went to the doctors after that barefoot incident on the basketball court, she said no more barefoot. And he's sometimes capable of going a bit too close to the cliff. So sorry, Bettina, for that one. And then we've got, the everyday worker that's capable of getting the shit done, which is good. And a somewhat higher self capable of philosophising. And for all this, I'd like to thank all of you. Amy for teaching me how to explore, and Sam. John, Sarita, Christine and Karen for teaching me how to think and write. Basil, helping me to see and feel. Brennan, Bettina, for how to add up. How to work hard mostly from them too. Daniel, for how to discover. Tom and Rowan, for how to create. Hartley and Scott, for how to understand and sympathise. And finally, my mum, my sister, my dad, and my bigger family over here, for how to listen and love. I love you all.
see you at the pool.
Okay, Scott, you're up to talk about Lily.
The words, that is not it, that is not what I meant at all, from Eliot's love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, come to mind when I think of Lily Patton. Because I've felt at times that if Lily can't express herself with depth and authenticity, she'd rather give you that sweet-faced smile of hers and not say anything at all. This need was evident one morning this term when she unexpectedly rushed into my classroom with a piece of paper in her hand that she seemed very excited about and said, "Read this! This is why I can't study." And so I read it, and from memory it was a rather intriguing rant, but one I didn't get to keep for long. Because Lily, satisfied it seemed that she'd managed to express some authentic truth about herself to someone, then took the paper off me and went, leaving me once again with a glimpse of the deep, mysterious enigma lurking behind that serene Lily facade. It's that same authenticity you glimpse in Lily the artist. Whether it's her piano playing, her painting, her drawing, her art is always hauntingly beautiful and never fails to move me. Lily, I'm going to miss your sense of fun, your mad makeup, your easygoing friendship. May you find in the next stage of your life inner peace, adventure, and many more different ways to express your authentic, eccentric, wonderful self. Lily.
Alright, like Scott said, I don't like being very authentic, but I'll try. I think I am very afraid of normalcy, as you may be able to tell. Not in the way that I go, suburban living, terrifying, but in the way that I don't want, it's terrifying. The thought of things being monotone and bland is horrifying. I don't know. But being at Candlebark and Alice Miller, it really showed me that that isn't true, and it's possible to find people that are bright and, I don't know, eccentric, unique. I want to highlight unique. And yeah, it's really given me, and I'm sure each other, a lot of hope for the world. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Karen, would you come up and speak about Amy, please?
I would describe Amy as having a quiet thirst for knowledge and a really deep appreciation of beauty. These two qualities seem to inform the way she approaches learning and her life in general. Amy learns for the sake of learning, spending time on the small but beautiful details of any new piece of knowledge, unpicking its intricacies. She writes with style and nuance, not because she's laboured over a piece of work, but because she notices the poetry in the things around her and attempts to record it. She's never in a hurry to gain knowledge. She seeks a deep mastery rather than a superficial understanding. This year, Amy would often turn up at my desk at unexpected moments, seeking more reading, more ideas. She'd make time to stop and thank me at the end of each lesson, not out of habit or routine, but because she seemed to genuinely enjoy the opportunity to learn. Amy, as you head out into this world, I hope that you do two things. I hope that you keep writing so that others can see the world through your eyes and notice the beauty of small things. I also hope that you continue to embrace your deep and boundless sense of curiosity.
Well, I think I'll start with thanking my parents for providing me this experience and to enter such a unique landscape of education that is incomparable to anything else, where you're not only endlessly inspired by the teachers, but by your peers as well. You are all strong and incredible people, and to keep it short and sweet, it's commonly said you're shaped by the people that surround you, and I couldn't be happier by those who have surrounded me throughout these years. Thank you.
Dave, can you come up and talk about Atticus, please? Thank you.
Okay, so the Atticus that I know is into making films and animation, and he's very creative. But until very recently, I discovered that that's actually a relatively recent character development, which surprised me because I've met his parents. And I know that Nicole and Stephen won't mind my saying that. I always assumed Atticus had channeled down this sort of creative route, but no, Atticus has been very much about maths and science sorts of things prior to that. But Atticus has been in media classes since 2017, and I remember when he was in year 10, he did all the set projects, and then he decided, right, Dave, here's what I want to do. I'm going to recreate the trailer for Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Right, okay, that's the one. And I'm going to rename it Alice Miller, a Candlebuck story. We'll change the dialogue a little bit, but we'll recreate it shot for shot. It's going to need heaps and heaps of extras. It's going to need actors all over the place, lots and lots of different locations, and we're going to need to do aerial shots with a drone. And I said, I said, great idea. In my head, I was thinking, that's a great thing to attempt to do. You will learn so much in that attempt. You will develop so many skills in your attempt to do that. And he did, but he proved, well, he actually went one better, and he actually did achieve it. He actually did complete it, and it's really, really great. So I was very impressed, and I'm sure a lot of other people were too. It's on YouTube. I was slightly concerned earlier this year when, starting VCE media in year 12, Atticus would say things like, oh, these descriptors are circular. And I said, it's all right, Atticus, I'll help you with that. It's like, oh, at least maths descriptors actually describe something. I said, yeah, all right. And I was a little bit concerned that the anxiety and frustration caused by the sort of vagaries of the media curriculum, I thought, ooh, how is this going to go? Guy going to go with the sack? But I really shouldn't have worried. Atticus just got in, did the work. When he didn't know, he'd ask me a question, and I'd go, and I'd try to find the answer. Often the answer wasn't 5, which is often a nice answer that he might have liked, but I'd give him the best answer I could. He'd do some more work, and ask another question, and I think Atticus probably asked more questions in the class this year than all the other students combined, which sounds like an exaggeration, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And in doing so, he wasn't just asking questions, he'd ask questions, work, ask questions, work, and he got through all of it. He did incredibly well at something that I was actually worried that he might not do so well at. So it's that perseverance and persistence that has allowed you to do really well in that particular subject. It's something that will carry you through in life in general. So congratulations, Atticus. What are we doing? All right, we're hugging. Good on you.
Right, so writing a speech for this occasion was something that in the past 2 weeks or so I found incredibly difficult, and that's because I don't think I can sum up this past 4 years in a minute and a half. Like, before I came to Alice Miller, I was a completely different person. I was an exile. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere in the world, and that's kind of illustrated by the fact that the first day I went to Alice Miller, I didn't understand it. I was completely just bamboozled by this otherworldly place. It was honestly, it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. And it actually took me a few days, I think a week actually, to get used to it. And I'd just like to thank all the teachers here for showing me that I can do things that I never knew I could do. Like Bettina and Brennan, wherever hears, they instigated that love for maths that I never knew I had before I came here. Back at the other schools I went to, I hated maths. I thought it was boring, but then Bettina and Brennan showed me that it wasn't. And then Anne she showed me that I can actually ad-lib a speech like I am doing right now. That's right, I didn't write any of this down. And I'd like to thank all of these people as well for showing me that I can have friends. It doesn't seem like a thing that should be a revelation. But I think, thank you all, and may the force be with you, always.
Stuart, would you mind coming up to speak about Escher, please?
When I first started at Alice last year, I asked Scott what he knew about the Year 11 students who I'd be teaching. And when he got to Escher's name, he sighed deeply like he just slipped into a cool, refreshing stream. And he said, Escher has to be the most relaxed person I've ever met. And if you ever feel stressed in your new job, just go stand near her. And he was right. Yet her composed and stylish demeanour only partly conceals a great sense of humour and a profound empathy for the feelings and points of view of other people. In her study of literature, she's made herself really vulnerable and allowed the characters and language and ideas to affect her, yet she's not been overwhelmed by the thoughts and feelings they provoke. She hasn't rushed to tell her every impulse or to get a right answer. She's shared what she thinks and feels, and deliberately and with great care expressed what she found in these poets and playwrights. It's safe to say that Escher is a true seeker after truth, and it is that yearning that will soon take her overseas, where I hope she will spread to the rest of the world some of that grace and elegance and depth and calm that has made being with her at Alice such a joy. Escher Reid.
I've written a little speech. There is no doubt that school, especially high school, is one of the most prominent in helping shape a person before they enter the big wide world. I think Alice Miller has done an exceptional job in doing so. We've been given the opportunity to find our passions and what we don't like so much through having so many different experiences available to us, and I think we are all so grateful for that. I've learnt so much more from the teachers than just maths or English, and that is thanks to the way you've treated us all as students with respect and equality. I've learnt life skills, how to treat other human beings and how to be true to myself from observing and listening to you all these past few years. The Alice Miller environment has helped us find ourselves, and I know we're all going to walk away from this place with enough of our true selves intact so the wider world has no chance of changing us into who we're not. Thank you to everyone at Alice Miller for creating such a great sense of community and home, and especially thank you to my family who did everything they could to get me here. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Okay, Bettina, can you come and speak about Danny, please?
First of all, I want to say it's been a pleasure. I travelled, some of you were my babies when I started teaching at Candlebark, my year 8 youngest class, and some of you have taught for 5 years in a row. So it's been just lovely seeing you all grow. You're an amazing group. And you'll leave a big hole in the school next year. Congratulations to you all for finishing year 12. But now I would like to talk about Danny. Danny, every time I think of you, a big smile forms on my face. My main image is seeing you giggling and having fun with your friends. You are the born entertainer, and I feel like you're the gel of the year 12 class. You're such a happy, vibrant, and caring young woman. You have such a beautiful nature, and you always put other people before yourself. You're an extremely generous human being, and it is very rare these days. Please do not change, keep this wonderful quality. You came to Alice Miller in Year 9 and it has been a pleasure to watch you grow. Thank you for being such a wonderful student and human being these last 4 years. I've thoroughly enjoyed teaching you and having you in my class. I have really enjoyed watching you work very hard this year. Your only big distraction, as far as I could tell, was playing cards in the cafe. You were so engaged with that game that during the last few weeks of term in the exam preparation period, you gave me permission to drag you into the maths room to complete another maths exam if I ever caught you playing cards in the cafe. It has been beautiful to watch you grow in confidence and self-belief. I truly believe that this was a real growth year for you. A big highlight for me was that you decided to come on the Year 12 girls hike, your first overnight hike. You committed to come along and started training for it. Well done for pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Seeing you watch the sunrise at Wilson's Promontory on our Year 12 girls hike was unforgettable. You mentioned that it was your first time seeing a sunrise and you were mesmerized and so moved by it. How wonderful to have shared that experience with you. Thank you so very much for being part of it. I sincerely hope that this experience will make you want to pursue more outdoor adventures. Danny, you are strong, caring, generous, and a wonderful friend and fun to be around. You will always make people laugh and want to be around you. Please always remember how capable and strong you are. I wish you all the very best for the future, and please keep in touch, as I would love to hear from you and your future adventures.
Okay. First of all, I thought I'd start my speech by how we started each day at Alice Miller with the morning meeting announcement. So this is my evening announcement. I've lost my jacket. No, I haven't. I wanted to say first of all, thank you to my teachers and my friends. Your love and the attention you gave me will be unforgettable. And now I want to thank my family. Thank you to my two brothers for giving me a great distraction through VCE with your constant request to play Minecraft and just bursting in my room singing. Thank you to my sister, who's also one of my best friends. She told me then for making me mention her in my speech because she said she wouldn't. She knows where I live. Thank you to my mum, your love and support through this year. I don't think I would have been able to do it without you. And thanks to Dad for paying. Thank you, that's it.
Hartley, would you like to come and talk about Arthur, please?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, over the next 60 seconds, we need to consider the following question. Is Arthur Scott the greatest saboteur Alice Miller has ever known? Or a hero? On the one hand, Arthur joined Alice Miller as a Year 9 student, never having attended any other school. In what must have been a pretty bewildering environment, he quickly settled to make the best possible use of everything Alice Miller has to offer. Reserved he may be, but nonetheless, Arthur has been completely involved with others and always showing the deepest consideration for their integrity. He's been determined to learn in the alien world of the classroom and willing to ask for what was needed when that learning was hard, while always knowing, in the end, it was up to him. And Arthur revelled in everything that was outside, from basketball next to the cafe to soccer down the hill to the wild country of Victoria and, of course, the Balkans and France. It's been a rich 4 years, And it has been that because every day, in some way, Arthur has made it so. Heroic stuff from start to finish. But on the other hand, what if in the future, as Emily or Sarita or John are showing kids around Alice Miller, giving them a glimpse of what might be in store for them in years 7 or 8, they look and they consider, and then more and more of them say, "No thanks, I think I'll do an Arthur. I'll come back in a year or 2. After all, he's shown us the way." Will we inwardly rage, "Damn it, Arthur, what have you done?" Or will we be gracious enough to quietly accept the wisdom of those children and affirm, "Yes, indeed, Arthur, you have shown us how it's done."
Oh, thank you so much, Hartley. It's been a pleasure. Well, I'm actually quite excited to leave Alice Miller, which is, experience the big world, but I will miss this place. And I think one of the highlights of this school is being the camps. I feel like I've thrived on them, and just like hiking through mountains, across deserts, along beaches, it's just been beautiful, and I'm so grateful to have had this experience. I don't really have much to compare Alice Miller with. As Hartley said, I've only first school 4 years, but it's been amazing, and lost where I'm up to. The teachers have been great. Thanks, Mum. Daniel, I've played that many games with him, basketball. I find it I find it hard to not call him my friend, my mate, and this goes to all the teachers. I love you all. You're great. Well, yeah, most of you. No, I'm kidding. All of you. But, thank you so much. I think the first couple months at Alice Miller was probably the hardest part of my life, but now I feel like it was completely worth it, and I'm so grateful to have had this experience. Thank you so much.
Arthur did spend 9 years hiding behind trees and sheds and any other cover he could find when he saw me coming, because I think he was terrified that he'd be dragged off to school. He held out for a long time.
Good effort, Arthur. Stuart, could you come and talk about Kia, please?
One of my favourite memories of Kia was towards the start of this year after the first SAC we did in Year 12. And he'd worked incredibly hard on it, and yet he hadn't yet quite managed to communicate the depth and breadth of ideas and insights that he had going on in that wild, deep brain of his. And I tried to encourage him and reassure him, and he stopped me. He said, "It's okay, I'm not worried about the mark, I'm just enjoying learning." And I was really taken aback by that. I don't imagine there'd be many young people in the country saying that at that stage. And it's this attitude, this curiosity, this courage, and this strength to judge himself not by external measures, but by his own authentic sense of purpose, is something that I admire in him greatly. It shows in how he luxuriates in every experience and makes it his own, be he acting, shooting hoops, or writing poetry. And the result is that despite his lack of interest in meeting standardized expectations, he transcends them, as the awards he'll win tonight attest. And it is the reason why we all here look on with great expectations to see what will become of this exceptional young man. Here's Scott Schroeder.
Okay. I remember the first open day I went to at Alice Miller. John was giving a speech, and you know how John's speeches can go. They can keep going and going. But this one, it really stuck out to me, and it's been in the back of my mind for the last 7 years. And that speech was about the difference between knowledge and wisdom. I don't know if you actually remember that, John, but yeah, it really stuck out to me. And I think that pretty much sums up the difference one of the differences that Alice Miller has in comparison to a lot of other schools. There's a lot of other differences, but yeah, that is something that I've always tried to keep in the back of my mind. And as Stuart was saying, for me, it's not really about the mark, it's just about what I can learn. And I just like to thank all the teachers and all my friends as well for teaching me, everything I know in some way about myself and about life. Thank you guys for being there for me. And thanks to my parents and my family. And thanks to Dad for paying for it. I'm so grateful to have this experience. Thank you.
Anne, could you come up to speak about Liam, please?
Well, I don't think it's any secret that Liam is a very funny and original person. And theatre studies this year has frankly been a joke. Sorry, parents. I'd enter each class ready to deliver my speech on the importance of focused rehearsal, and within minutes I'd be doubled up on the floor with tears running down my face because watching Liam direct A Midsummer Night's Dream. His Demetrius, which is normally and quite rightly played with kind of aristocratic imperiousness, was reinterpreted by Liam as a Pepsi-swilling bogan. While Mela as Helena, who by the way is in love with Demetrius, God knows why, would soliloquise about how love is blind, Liam as Demetrius would choke on a whole packet of Oreos that he'd thrown into his mouth one at a time, the salivary, biscuity crumbs spilling out onto the meeting room floor. Upstaging aside, Helena's speech about how love is blind has never made more sense, so hats off, Liam. Demetrius does eventually fall in love with Helena thanks to a love drug that's administered by an EpiPen, and Liam expressed that love by refusing to stop creepily brushing her hair whilst she was trying to have a feisty argument with Hermia. He also played bottom, and I hope you don't find me impertinent, Liam, when I say that your bottom was wonderful. And being of a respectable age, I've seen a lot of bottoms. So his trumpet playing mechanical was not only hilarious, but full of heart and humanity. And I think this really reflects the essence of who Liam is. Beneath the incredible wit and absurdist humour, there is a deeply kind and genuine person. And Liam, it's been such a pleasure working with you both in productions and in class in the last couple of years. And I honestly say that theatre studies is going to be a dismal experience from now on without you in it. So thank you so much.
For a second, I started clapping for myself, forgetting that I needed to come up. I'm a bit annoyed because I only wrote jokes for my speech, and I'll think of what I should actually say sitting down. Then everyone proceeded to say exactly what I was thinking just before I realised, I better quickly switch up my ideas. And the next person would say that idea to a point where it's like, well, all I have left is jokes. So firstly, I'm going to apologise to the teachers. Scott, sorry for drinking Pepsi in your class. Karen, sorry for falling asleep in your class. Scott, sorry for being in your class. And sorry for coming up with the term joke Tourette's, where I have to say a joke no matter how stupid or even if it makes sense. Scott, once again, sorry. I'm really happy that I came to Alice Miller. I've only been here for 2 years, but it's been the best 2 years of my schooling life. In year 7, a teacher blamed me for a bee flying through a window. So it's not the highest bar to reach, but it's a pretty good bar. If I had a time machine, I would probably go back and punch Shakespeare in the face, because I don't actually really like him. And I think it comes down to the fact that I really don't like Midsummer's Night's Dream, because the idea that love is something that can just be given to you by a random person named Pitt, while true, it's not something I want to think about. But then I would go find my past self and tell him to go to Alice Miller, but most likely that won't happen, because I didn't believe the strange man who showed up to me a couple of years ago telling me to go to a school that didn't exist yet. But, you know, I wanted to end this with a quote, and I thought about ending it with what Spider-Man says at the end of Spider-Man 1. I thought about ending it with a Simpsons quote, but I decided to go real with it and end with a quote from a movie that I do really like. I think it's very nice. Remember skin milk, not full cream milk. So, I've grabbed the wrong note, but I think I remember the gist of it. Nothing is impossible. Improbable, unlikely, but never impossible. That was spoken by Luigi Mario, brother of Mario Mario from the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's an awful movie, but I love the hell out of it. Thanks for putting up with this.
I don't even know what to say after that. Bettina, can you come and speak about Molly, please?
Molly, you came to Alice Miller in year 8 and embraced the school for all it had to offer. From the beginning, you were positive. We were a positive and energetic influence. You participated in several of the Alice Miller plays, playing the cello as part of the string ensemble. We also saw you perform in many soirees over the years. Additionally, you represented the school in inter-school swimming and have been part of the strong leadership team of the Year 12 students this year. I hope I haven't missed anything else. I started teaching you in your first year at Alice Miller, and I have thoroughly enjoyed teaching and getting to know you. You always came to school early and liked working in the maths room. I have immensely enjoyed your company and our chats on those early mornings before school started. And I will miss you very much next year when I come to school and not find you there. Thank you so very much for those precious moments and for often spoiling me with a cup of tea. In year 9, you decided to go on an exchange to France for 11 months. I was highly impressed when you came to see me at the end of year 8, asking me if the following year I could please send you the outlines for each of the topics as the year progressed, so that you could teach yourself the maths course and not fall behind the rest of your class. I was even more awestruck when I kept receiving your emails from France asking me for the next outline often ahead of the class that I was teaching, so you could keep learning the Year 9 course. Molly, you are a hard-working, organised and meticulous person, and those qualities will take you far in life. Another remarkable quality that you possess and I admire is your resolute determination. When you came back from France, you were determined to jump a year level, Year 10, and go straight into Year 11 and commence your VCE. It has been amazing to watch you embark on this journey with such willpower, refusing to be distracted. And here you are, 2 years later, having worked extremely hard and successfully completing your VCE with high marks and being accepted early into ANU in Canberra for a double degree. Another example of your drive is the undertaking of the Year 12 Girls Hike. I'm not sure when this trip was first raised. However, you are one of the students that constantly pushed for it to take place and did not stop until we had booked our camping spots at Wilson's Promontory. The passion that you have for this beautiful and mesmerizing park is so contagious. It was so wonderful to see you happy on that camp, taking any opportunity you could go for a walk or a swim. Thank you for persisting with the idea. That trip was certainly a highlight for many of us this year, and I hope that the love for the outdoors and adventure never vanishes from your life. I have enjoyed sharing a passion for plants with you. I firstly discovered this passion of yours when you elected to work on the flora identification project when we all worked at the Macedon Mansion in 2017. You created the most amazing book, drawing, gluing, and classifying many of the plants we came across. I have to thank you and Lilo so very much for the wonderful job you both did looking after all my classroom plants of the summer holidays. It was very amusing to see you both deciding which plants each of you would take home to look after. You were so considerate of each other that you both took exactly the same amount of plants home. Molly even nursed a sick plant back to its full glory and told me all about the pest that had attacked this one particular plant. Your contagious energy, positive outlook, steely determination, and huge smile will take you a long way. I know that whatever you decide to do in the future, you will succeed. Once you have something in mind, nothing will stop you from achieving it. You're an amazing young woman with so many beautiful qualities, and I can't wait to see where life takes you. I will miss you in class next year, and I wish you all the very best for the future. Please keep in touch. And here I had to say from Christine, that is a special French award, is that correct? And I think it's a tradition in French, in France, to get a special book.
Thank you for those nice words, Tina. I wrote a bit of a speech, but I know you've already heard 18, so it's probably going to be a bit of the same. I do, of course, want to thank the students and the teachers, but I feel that a thank you isn't really sufficient for the experience that we've all had. I've been at the school for 4 years with an interruption with the exchange, and the people and the beautiful setting of the campus just created an essentially home-like nature, let alone the fact that we were sleeping over almost once a week at some points. It was a bit crazy. The kind of trust, the opportunities, the landscapes, the knowledge, all of those things that I was exposed to in my time here has really shaped me as a person. And I'm not kind of sad about graduating. I'm more excited because I feel that I have been adequately prepared to go on and to study next year at uni and to move out of home. And I'm quite excited about that prospect. I'm less sad. So, to keep it short and sweet, I want to thank my 5 Year 12 teachers, Stuart, Christine, Amy, Hartley and Bettina, who I spent countless hours with and pestered them in their own personal time quite a lot. I even stayed at Christine's house, and Hartley, I made sure that he came out with me during the holidays to study for exams. And I think that that's really the fundamental secret to Alice Miller, that our teachers and staff teach with such passion and love that we too are just become so passionate about the things we're learning, and that's really awesome. So thank you.
I don't need my sheet because we're at the lucky last. So Scott, would you like to come and talk about Ellie, please?
Where is she? How is she? Ellie Rose Wilson John. At award ceremonies such as this, you're not going to hear that name read too often. And it's, but that might be as much about award criteria as anything else. Because the Ali I've got to know over the last couple of years is as extraordinary as anyone else sitting over here. And there are an incredibly extraordinary bunch who are sitting over here. Her compassion and generosity are the first things that come to mind. I saw that in her willingness to interact with Wattle students on the Year 11 camp, and in the effort and money I've seen her put into her friends' and teachers' birthdays. And then there's the loyalty. The way she supports and stands by her friends even when their opinions are unpopular. Ali, it's been sad not seeing you around lately, especially in reception where your multi-pierced face was perhaps the first and most lasting impression that visitors to the school would have of Alice Miller. You have regularly kept me amused, and on occasion your actions have really touched me. I think you have got the potential to do really big things with a bit of army discipline, and so long as you remember every morning to back yourself and to actually get out of bed. Ali.
First off, I'd just like to express how grateful I am and how thankful I am to my parents, my sister and my brother for having to deal with me. To the teachers who have supported me throughout my time in Alice Miller, and to my classmates, and to some of the most amazing people I've ever met who I'm lucky enough to call my friends. So thank you so, so much, and I would have never been able to make it without you.
It's time to move on to the presentation of our special awards. I'm going to paraphrase Sarita to introduce these because she spoke just a short while ago in our morning meeting about what it is that makes Alice Miller unique. And her point was that schools often make the mistake of trying to promote one of two focus points. So they're interested in growing people emotionally, or they're focused on people's academic achievements. And sadly, it often works out that one is at direct cost of the other. So as Sarita very eloquently put it, Alice Miller challenges the idea that it must be one or the other. We have a dizzying array of experiences that nurture emotional and physical health, resilience, independence and adventure, whilst prioritising relationships and emotional intelligence. And alongside that, we run an academic program that fosters intellectual curiosity, academic engagement, and intellectual integrity. In our classrooms, the expectation is that students arrive with focus and apply themselves with dedication, commitment, and rigour. It's the aim to acknowledge as equally important these two fundamental components of our character, our emotional character and our intellectual character. And that's what informs the awards that we hand out each year. We're aiming to equip young people with the type of character that enables them to be robust, honest, vulnerable, intelligently critical, curious and courageous. So they're not embarrassed when they make mistakes in speeches. The cultivation of our character is something so profoundly precious. It should not be left to chance. It is something we should actively work to cultivate. And that can't happen without understanding both of these facets need to be nurtured. So this is the reason that we have the awards that we do. The recipients stand out because part of their unique character truly shines and promotes these character traits that we value so highly. The first award we're presenting is our Alice Miller Award. It acknowledges the student or students who exemplify a willingness to engage with the world in a brave and inclusive way, with a dedicated and adventurous spirit and an honest, open heart. The students who've been selected for this award have all demonstrated these qualities across very different opportunities at Alice Miller and within their communities more broadly. So please join me in congratulating Lilu Hosking, Una Mitchell, Luca O'Flynn and Molly Spencer-Stewart. Well done. So thank you. Congratulations to you all. Part of being a good person is to be a kind person. Kindness driven by compassion is the best sort of kindness. It acknowledges and considers the impact we have on others and our capacity to be a good friend, a supportive family member, and a positive influence in the community as a whole. For this reason, we give an altruism award every year to celebrate the student who supported members of the Alice Miller community with an outstanding amount of kindness, empathy, and understanding. This year, we're delighted to give this award to Noah Coates. Okay, our True Grit Award is presented to the student or students who have embraced the opportunities at Alice Miller with outstanding resilience, persistence and determination, and who have flourished as they've done so. This year, we're very pleased to award the True Grit Award to Jezebel Furlong and Arthur Scott. Not awkward at all. Okay, we're going to move on to our academic awards. So we're going to have an academic award for each of the major disciplines that we have at Alice Miller: English, Maths, Humanities, Science and Art. Within each discipline there are several studies that are encased. And the way that these have been determined is that we've taken the coursework scores of the students in that whole discipline area and awarded the award. There's got to be a better way to say that. To the student who has achieved the highest results. So if I could ask these students to come up and stand and we'll hand it all out, then you can bow, curtsy, whatever you feel you need to. The English award goes to Luca O'Flynn. The Maths award goes to Jez Furlong. The Humanities award goes to Kia Scott-Schroeder. The Science award goes to Una Mitchell. And the Art award goes to Kia Scott-Schroeder. Wow. Oh, you actually did it! Yes! And pose. An important moment to pose for. Thank you. Yeah. The last academic award that we have is for the student who has scored the highest coursework score overall in the school. So essentially it's the ducks of the coursework. This Academic Excellence Award in 2019 goes to Molly Spencer-Stewart. So we're nearly at the end of the evening. Our media teacher, Dave, has put together a pretty amazing video montage of our graduates. And so that's going to be screened just prior to John closing the evening.
Bam bam, mon ça se place juste sur mon lit à bouffer sa langue en buvant trop mon whisky. Quant à moi, peu dormi, vie débris, mais j'ai dû dormir dans la gouttière où j'ai eu un flash. En 4 couleurs. Allez hop, un matin, une louloute est venue chez moi, poupée de cellophane, cheveux chinois, un sparadrap, une gueule de bois, a bu ma bière dans un grand verre en caoutchouc, comme un indien dans son igloo. Ça plane pour moi, ça plane pour moi, ça plane pour moi, moi, ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, la nana, quel panard, quelle vibration de s'envoyer sur le paillasson. Limé, ruiné, vidé, comblé. You are the king of the divan, qu'elle me dit en passant. I am the king of the divan. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Moi, ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, t'occupe, t'inquiète, touche pas ma planète. It's not today, que le ciel me tombera sur la tête et que la colle me manquera. Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, ma nana, c'est tiré, c'est barré, enfin c'est marré. Comme un grand connard. Le pied dans le plat. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Moi, ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi.
Thank you, Dave. It certainly brings back memories. I remember when Sarita and I were teaching Year 10 English, and Sophie would come in with her laptop computer and open it up and take copious notes while I was talking and be very involved in the class, asking profound questions and giving wonderful answers and stimulating input to the class. And it was at least halfway through the year before I realised that she was at the same time using the computer not to take notes but to Facebook friends in Paraguay, Alaska, Tanzania, Ireland, and it was one of the many stories that came back to my mind tonight as I heard people talk and watched that wonderful piece of footage, film footage. So I just have to find my glasses, which are buried deep in the pocket. So we're now very close to an ending. Multiple endings, in fact. The end of this graduation ceremony, the end of your time at Alice Miller and Candlebark schools, the end of your formal primary and secondary schooling, which for your group has meant a duration of anywhere between 4 and 13 years, and the end of what society has decreed to be your childhood. So tonight could be taken as marking your formal graduation into adulthood. But events like this make me wonder what adulthood is. Of what does it consist? As a society, we seem confused about the age at which adulthood begins. Frequently, we take chronological age as the definitive marker. In other words, we count the number of birthdays you've had. If you've had 18, great, that's it. A magic wand is waved, a gold pass is handed to you, and you apparently transition overnight from immaturity to maturity. The magic number in Australia was for many decades 21, but in my lifetime I've seen it drop by 3 years. There is, however, an obvious confusion when we look at just the simple number of birthdays criterion and see how it varies from situation to situation. In Australia, yes, you can vote at 18, you can buy and drink alcohol at 18, but you can join the Army, Navy or Air Force at 17. And it might well be said that a person who's old enough to do that should be regarded as an adult. A person accused of a crime is treated in the adult justice system from the age of 17 in Queensland, 18 in other states. The legal age for having sex is 16 or 17, depending on the state you live in. And by the state you live in, I mean your geographical location. Not the tardiness of your bedroom or how often you take a shower. You can get a gun licence at 12 in most states, 11 in Queensland. You can buy a long gun at age 18, but you can't buy a handgun until you're 21. You can get a driver's licence at 17 in most states, 16 and a half in the Northern Territory, 18 in Victoria. Religions use very different criteria. The bar mitzvah for Jewish boys, the age at which he is held accountable for his actions, occurs at age 13. The bat mitzvah for girls is at age 12 according to Orthodox Jews and 13 according to Reform Jews. Confirmation in the Christian churches, often described as the sacrament of adulthood, is generally between ages 12 and 14. The Amish in North America have Rumspringa, which translates to something like running around outside the boundaries, and which generally starts at around age 16 and can last for anywhere between 2 and 5 years. For some, but not all, it can be a wild time. At the end of this period, the person either makes a lifelong commitment to the Amish faith or does not. Japan has a coming of age day on the second Monday in January every year, when the attainment of the age of 20 is celebrated. But it has been decided that from 2022 onwards, the age of adulthood will be lowered from 20 to 18. All this emphasis on chronological age. Yet it seems to me to be the least reliable criterion. There are 14-year-olds whom I'd happily trust with the right to vote, but 50-year-olds who shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a polling booth. So what constitutes true adulthood? I'll attempt a definition. I think it includes the ability to think in the long term. At Candlebark in the last couple of weeks, 2 basketballs have been put under the wheels of the big coaches, so that when the bus drives off, the balls explode with a very loud bang. That gives the child who placed the ball a short-term thrill. How long does the thrill last? 2 minutes, 3 minutes? But there are long-term implications. It means that people who want to play basketball or soccer or netball have fewer balls now available. If more balls are placed under bus wheels, then we'll take the remaining balls away, reserving them for PE classes, and the long-term pleasure of up to 180 people is adversely affected. I spoke the other day at the Alice Miller morning meeting about practical jokes, and the fact that by definition a practical joke can only occur when someone else is humiliated, embarrassed, inconvenienced and or made uncomfortable. Yet what happened on the first night of the Year 10 camp this week? 3 boys left their cabin late at night, went to another cabin and started making noises that gave the impression of a prowler trying to break in. Their victim became so frightened and distressed that he went and woke a teacher, only to be humiliated by the realisation that he was the subject of a practical joke. The 3 jokers presumably enjoyed the thrill of ganging up on someone else to scare him, but did they think about the possible long-term effects of their behaviour? Being an adult means taking responsibility for others. And I'll twist that definition around by saying that taking responsibility for others means acting in an adult way. The most obvious example of those for whom we become responsible are our children. But we have to be responsible also for people we don't even know. The refugees, for example, and the treatment handed out in recent years to refugees who come to Australia has been carried out in our name, so we must accept responsibility for that. But we are responsible for more than our fellow humans. The damage to this planet is exacerbated every time we clear another square metre of native vegetation, turn on our air conditioner, kill another insect or fish or reptile or other creature. Taking on responsibilities is really just another way of thinking in the long term. Being an adult means having first-hand experiences, not spending life huddled over a computer or a TV set, but I'm guessing you've heard me speak enough times on that theme. Being an adult means expressing oneself creatively, whether through cake decorating, potting, music, acting, dancing, parenting, gardening, teaching, oil painting, choreographing. Being an adult means having an awareness that there are always multiple solutions to problems, but some solutions are likely to be superior to others. It means developing the ability to rank those possible solutions. It means also developing the ability to invent or find a variety of solutions to problems. Being an adult means having satisfactory relationships with other creatures, including human beings. And that means having the ability to repair relationships when things go wrong, as they inevitably will. The closer, the more intimate the relationship, the more pain is felt when things do go wrong. And we are then at grave risk of suffering greatly because the relationship may implode. This, of course, makes it all the more important that we have the necessary skills to address the problems, to resolve the conflict, to find ways to move forward again. And the skills needed in such situations will include honesty. And that word includes the ability to look at oneself honestly. And we heard many examples tonight of people who are able to do that. And it's deeply impressive to know that at the age of 17 or 18, you have that ability. The ability to confront one's own negative behaviours and attitudes, which have certainly contributed to the breakdown in a relationship, and to communicate one's thoughts, feelings and opinions in an honest and caring way to the other person or people. None of this stuff is easy. That's why it's only adults who can do it with the level of sophistication that is often necessary. And, as I hope is now obvious, when I say adults, I'm not talking about the number of birthdays anyone has had. I'd like to take it upon myself to further thank, on your behalf, all the adults, including family members and teachers who have taken responsibility for you and have supported you through your childhood and your teenage years. And I wish you all well. To quote from the poem Ithaca by Greek-Egyptian poet Constantine Cavafy, "As you set out for Ithaca, hope that your journey is a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery. Lystrigonians, Cyclops, angry Poseidon, do not be afraid of them. You'll never find things like that on your way as long as you keep your thoughts raised high, as long as a rare sensation touches your spirit and your body." Good travelling to you all.
There's nothing else to say other than have a very safe journey and wish you all the very best. Thank you all for coming.